Hello, everybody. My name is Professor Yao Nyako. I hope you can all hear me. I'd like to thank you all for be having this. We have a number of great people who are going to be with us. So again, we have a large number of people who have signed up for the event today, and I'd like to thank you all for coming. Okay. All right. So I'm going to begin. We have a wonderful panel, and on the side here, and I'm going to double check. You all have the bios, and so I'm not going to be going through the bios. Okay. I'm just going to mention the name, and then they're going to come and speak up. You can read all the bios, and maybe later on, as we're coming in and as I'm doing the question and answers, I'll be revealing to you the histories, the background, and how we got our wonderful speakers today, okay? So that way we can get all of the words in and all of the speakers can speak, okay? So that's the way we're going to be doing it. I'll just be mentioning the names and then we move forward, okay? Very good. And so I'm looking through all of this. I'm just making sure that we are live. Great. So I'm going to begin with just a few remarks about Nyako. I am the director of NYU's Africa House, and I'm going to begin the conversation today. I hope my internet lasts. Every now and then it gets spotty, but hopefully everything will work. So again, thank you for coming. Today is going to be about Cote d'Ivoire. I am myself not from Cote d'Ivoire. I am from Ghana, which is next door to Cote d'Ivoire. I just wanted to start this conversation by telling you a little bit about the history of West Africa, the history of Africa. So as many of you know, Africa had a lot of great empires, civilizations, and then we had the scramble for Africa. In my part of Africa, West Africa, it was primarily the English and the French. When I was a little bit younger, I used to joke, if you want to find out the French-speaking places versus the English-speaking places, what do? You're drawing a map, you want to find out which is which. Well, it turns out when the scramble for Africa was taking place, roughly 1800 to 1900, in the 1900s, that 20-year period is when most of the scramble took place. The British loved people. So they would always go to the areas that are densely populated, okay? So you look at a map of West Africa and draw that thin little line around Gambia. Lots of people, British. You come to Ghana, there's the Volta Lake, draw a little thing around that, people, British. You go a little bit further out, Nigeria, the Niger Delta, tons of people there, British. And pretty much most of everything else, French. So the French have got very, very large areas, and the British have very densely populated areas. I'm a Khan, and the Khan people used to be Côte d'Ivoire, and the border between French-speaking and English-speaking West Africa, and it cut right through the Akan-speaking areas, okay? And that's how come part of my family is in Côte d'Ivoire, part of my family is in Ghana, okay? The majority is in Ghana now, that's why I live there. And so again, I just wanted to point out that we have a lot of history together. And so today we're going to be studying, not studying, but having a conversation about Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, of course, being brothers, neighbors, have a long history. And when we're thinking about economics, when we're thinking about history, when we're thinking about economic development, these two countries are actually very good cases. So Ghanaians feel very proud. We got among the Black African nations, we got independence first, 1957. The joke about Ghanaians is that because we got the independence first, we think we know everything about politics. So you don't want to talk politics to a Ghanaian, okay? They'll talk your head off. But at independence, there was a famous bet. Okay, so Ghana's independence leader was Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He tended to be state-run activities. He tended to be on the left. And in Cote d'Ivoire, we had Houphouët-Boigny, who was a proponent of maintaining ties with the colonial masters, getting development from Europe, and also more of private enterprise. And so, as we know in history, right after Ghana got independence, the independence leader Kwame Nkrumah hurried off to Cote d'Ivoire and tried to convince Houphouët-Boigny, the leader there, you should join us and separate, be part of the Pan-Africanist movement, cancel all ties with Europe, and let's have our state-run economic policy. And so Houphouët-Boigny, the president at that time, says, well, young man, I like what you're saying, but I'm going to do something different. Let's have a bet which country will do better in 10 years. Okay, so that was a famous bet. And so anytime we're looking at Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, it's that bet. Who is doing better? We are always having this friendly rivalries, okay? And so, of course, 10 years later, Kwame Nkrumah had his coup d'etat. Houphouët-Boigny was in power for about 30 years. And so when Nkrumah left, most Ghanaians were saying that Cote d'Ivoire has overtaken us. But then after Houphouët-Boigny left, Cote d'Ivoire had its issues, different experiences, different lives, if you will. But we still have this brotherly affection for each other. I like to joke with my Ivorian friends. You know, in soccer, anytime there's a soccer match, we're always competing against each other. And I remember with Yusuf, who's on the call today, and we were really joking about COVID. So both nations have relatively low COVID rates. We are all very, very, saddened by the deaths that we do have, but relative to the rest of the world, most of Africa, surprisingly, is doing well. It's actually a success story, okay? But I remember I was joking with Yusuf that the new vaccine, COVAX vaccine, the first country to get it was Ghana, okay? So of course, as soon as I heard that, I rushed to all my Ivorian friends to congratulate Ghana as if it's a soccer match and we had won. But of course, the second country right after Ghana was Cote d'Ivoire, okay? And so that's just showing how much, the two countries are very, very similar to each other. Economic progress has been very, very similar, and that's what's been going on. So anyway, I just wanted to give everybody a quick sort of like a summary. Okay, so I think I was introducing Bernadette, our wonderful Bernadette, Professor Bernadette Dia Kamya, International Development Consultant, researcher affiliated with the Economic Policy Analysis Unit of CIRES, very, very important institution and organization. And from 2014 to 2017, she served as acting director of the African Development Institute of the African Development Bank, which is actually where I interacted the most with her. So sorry for the internet issues. And Bernadette, over to you, please.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Nana. Thank you. And I would like to thank all of you for associating me to this important discussion on Côte d'Ivoire. Actually, I learned a lot. I thought I knew about my country. I thought I knew about Ghana, but I didn't know much until I hear from you. Thank you very much. Okay, my presentation is on cocoa economy. So please let me share my screen. Okay, here we go. There are so much to say about cocoa and its economy as far as Cote d'Ivoire is concerned. But we will not have enough time to speak about all we have to say in 10 minutes. So I just put together some facts so that we can use those facts to lead the discussion. Okay. So my presentation will be on the importance of cocoa for the Ivorian economy. The second point would be on a stylized fact on production, followed by stylized fact on export and local process. Then a stylized fact on international prices and producer prices. And finally, the current development in the Ivorian cocoa. Should we ask a question to know what is the importance of cocoa for Cote d'Ivoire? No, because the way I look at Cote d'Ivoire, I will say that Cote d'Ivoire is cocoa. All that we see, all the brightness that we see today are based on the development of that sector. So Cote d'Ivoire was led by the cocoa industry. I will say the cocoa sector. I wish I could say the cocoa industry, but let us be humble and talk about cocoa sector. So I will use three facts to indicate the importance of cocoa. Cocoa is actually a strategic sector for the Ivorian economy. With 40% of the world cocoa market, cocoa represents or cocoa makes Ivory Coast the lead producer. Then in terms of GDP, 10% of the Ivorian GDP comes from cocoa, and 40% of export revenue drawn from cocoa. As it concerns the production, what a fact. We look at the evolution of the production since 1960. Yao thought about before the 60s, but when describing the economy in Cote d'Ivoire, we tend to start from 1960, when we got the independence. So we can see that production steadily increased from 1960 to 2018. If the production increase, that's because of the yield. The yield was shaped over the years, because starting from 1960, the varieties that were being used changed. The variety changed over time, so that starting over the 2000, we were talking about Mercedes cocoa, meaning that the cocoa will be planted over 3 years. it will get to production. So these combined with effort made by producers, we can see that you know the, the, the production increase over the time. What happened? What helped? What are the leading factors then? In 1962, we had the Price Stabilization Fund. Everybody heard about that. Ghana had its cocoa board, and Cote d'Ivoire had its Price Stabilization Fund. In 1970s, the Ivorian economy miracle was anchored on cocoa. As I said, that everything, the blinking that we see on Cote d'Ivoire is from Cote d'Ivoire. In the 70s, we were talking about the Ivorian miracle, and that miracle was due to cocoa. Then in 1998, Cote d'Ivoire shifted to a new stabilization for greater competitiveness of the sector. And then in the 2011, it experienced the creation of the Coffee and Cocoa Council. But we would not look at just these. In the 2000, we had two major factors that modified the sector. The swollen shoot virus, okay, that reduced the production because because the virus affected a great part of the production areas in Cote d'Ivoire. The same swollen shoot virus appeared in Ghana. Actually, it is Ghana that first experienced that virus. Okay. In Cote d'Ivoire, in response to the swollen shoot, there appeared a shift from the production area from east to southwest and west. Okay, and since the shift in the production area, new actors came in. These are from countries such as Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso became a producer, almost a producer of cocoa, but we know what it is. It is a Cote d'Ivoire, but in terms of export, people from Burkina Faso played a major role in the exports. In terms of export and the export of cocoa increased by 43% from 1996 to 2017. Okay. Looking at this trend, we will say that this is a positive trend, that we have an increase. But carefully looking at the production between 2004 to 2010, we experienced 74.66% decrease in production. In terms of the processing of cocoa, Cote d'Ivoire has made some, effort to transform a lot of its cocoa, but that does not that the effort is not enough to to bring more value to bring more value to the production, because it has always been said that instead of exporting, cocoa bean, it's better to export processed cocoa. So Cote d'Ivoire has made an effort on that. We can see that through the years, in terms of the price, international prices and producer prices. The first till 1990 till 1989, we can see that the price of the producer price was not matching the international prices, because because of the stabilization fund. But after 1989, we can see that the producer prices was liberalized, so that it was just following the international prices. Okay, what are the current development in the Ivorian cocoa sector?
So,
Okay,
Bernadette,
we can see Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana.
okay.
These two countries account for 2/3 of the world cocoa market. So Abidjan and Accra are mobilizing their exceptional position. They have obtained a premium from cocoa and chocolate multinational Nestle, such as Nestle, what is called the decent income differential, amounting to $400. So each one of the countries use this strategy to increase the producer price at home. Okay, for the first time, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire aligned their price to stabilize between the two countries. Why should there be a stabilization price between the two countries? Because before then, we can see the movement. When the prices are high in Ghana, you will see the shift from Cote d'Ivoire to Ghana, and vice versa. So for the first time, the two countries align their price. What other factor in terms of current development? The Cote d'Ivoire is pushing the local transformation to the next frontier. That is by constructing two transformation mills of 50,000 tons each in Abidjan and San Pedro, as well the construction of storage facilities in Abidjan and San Pedro, combined with a combined capacity of 300,000 tons. Okay, this is good. Transforming is good, but to whom we should transform? So this is the role where we are looking at the role of urbanization. Urbanization with its middle, the increasing middle class.
So Bernadette,
With the increased
Bernadette, you should
middle
be wrapping
class,
up now.
can see that the consumption pattern have changed, so that the transformation of cocoa will be to fill the local market before thinking about export. As well, in terms of urbanization, we should think about building a climate resilience. Climate resilience, we see people going from the rural areas to cities. That make a bulk of people living in the cities. But when people move to cities, unfortunately, they tend to live, they don't have good houses, and this tend to create, we heard about the flooding and condition after each rainy season. So this is because of, the great number of people without preparedness uh, to feed the people. So please, this is what I had to say in terms of the cocoa production. There is much more to say. Maybe in the discussion we can talk about that. Thank you very much.
Okay, I was just checking that. Everybody can hear me, I hope. Yes?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right, wonderful. So Benedette, thank you so much for telling about us about cocoa. Um, and since you started in 1960, and since I am in the Americas right now, I'm in New York. I don't know if you know this, but cocoa actually came from South America. In Mexico,
Yes,
they're the ones
yes,
who
I know that. It came
2,000
from
years
the south.
ago.
Yeah.
And then after the Columbus is when it all came to Africa. So I feel a connection with South America right now. So thank you so much for talking about cocoa. It's a big part of our lives in Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire. And for the audience, next time you eat chocolate, please think of Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire that produces close to half of all of the chocolate. So Bernadette, thank you so much. And we move right on to Issouf. He's a professor of finance and director of the Laboratory for Financial Engineering at Université Laval, Labifol in Canada. Okay, he's co-president of the Pan-African Institute for Economic Financial Governance. And so Issouf, over to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yao. And also the NYU Africa House for giving us this opportunity to talk about this great country, which is actually basically Cote d'Ivoire. Let me just share my screen with you. For a few slides, and then for some starless fact, I want to show about Cote d'Ivoire, and then we can take the discussion from there. Okay, let me just be sure that you see my screen on your right. Duplicate. Okay, then can you see, if you see, the flag of Cote d'Ivoire, then you are seeing my screen. Can you see it? Okay, good. Okay, then this is basically, you see, this is the map of Cote d'Ivoire. This is the flag of Cote d'Ivoire. That's really this beautiful country, as you can see from the flag also. Okay, and then for those of you who don't know where is basically Cote d'Ivoire on the map of Africa, you see, this is the red country here. And then right after we have our neighbor, the great, Ghana, right? Actually, really, this is our neighbor, these are our friends, our brothers and our sisters. But among brothers and sisters, we are always trying to be first, right? And then I will come back to that later on. And after that, you have Nigeria. Most of you know Nigeria. And this is just to, to be able to situate actually Cote d'Ivoire. And then again, a map. I just took this map on the internet, this morning. This is basically the business district of Cote d'Ivoire, it's called the Plateau in Abidjan. Really very modern city, very modern area. And in the past, we used to even call Abidjan the Manhattan of Africa, actually. It used to be that in the 80s. I remember when I was much younger than I'm today, actually. That just to give you a brief idea of this country. Well, the business environment, before I talk about the financial sector, actually, the business environment, what the government has done over the years, they have put in place a single window bureau, which is basically in French, the French acronym is CPC. This is a place where you come. If you want to start a business, you come there and you find all the administrative structures, are there. Then you can do everything there. You don't have to go outside that bureau, and then you do everything. And the goal actually is to be able to start a business in 48 hours, okay. At the same time, also, the government also over the years have put in place, special economic zones to be able to attract foreign direct investment, also to facilitate foreign business implementations. All these have been able, with all this, the result has been that a big improvement of the country ranking in terms of doing business, actually. If you take, the latest ranking of World Bank or doing business report, the country has made a lot of progress, from 2019 to 2020. Even, before that, there have been a really sustained, really progress made by the country to that. And all this also has result in a really sustained economic growth in the country. The country actually has witnessed over the last decade before the COVID outbreak of more than 77% over the years, actually. This is right now one of the fast growing economy, even in the world, actually, right? Côte d'Ivoire. Well, but when we are talking about economy, we have to talk about the financial sector, because the financing is coming from the financial sector mainly, actually. Then I will really just give you a quick overview of the financial sector in Côte d'Ivoire. The financial sector basically in Côte d'Ivoire, let's talk about the capital city. The capital city is the economic capital city, because there are two capital cities, but the economic capital city is called Abidjan. Abidjan is the economic capital city, and it's really the main financial hub of the West African Economic and Monetary Union. For those of you who do not know about West Africa Economic and Monetary Union, this is the union which has all the Francophone countries in West Africa. It's 8 countries. The seven countries are Francophone one, only one is Portuguese-speaking country. Then these 8 countries, they came together, and then they have the single currency, they have the same central banks and so on. So it's a monetary union. And actually, Côte d'Ivoire is the leading economy in this region, actually. It holds the regional stock exchange. Then these 8 countries, they have one common stock exchange, which is basically based in Côte d'Ivoire. It holds also what we call, the regional depository central counterpart. Because when you come and trade on the stock exchange, basically you always have almost like a central counterpart, which actually takes care of the settlement and the delivery, actually, after the trades goes through the system. Then it has one central counterpart. And also it is the home also of the main regulator of the capital market in the regions, and also the main regulator also of the banking sector also is based in Abidjan, also in Côte d'Ivoire. And also it's home also for the International Cocoa Organization. Also it's home for the African Development Bank, which is basically the biggest Pan-African banks on the continent. The main players on the financial sector in the regions, I'm talking about these 8 countries, basically, half of the brokerage firms are in Abidjan, in Côte d'Ivoire, and also 2/3 of the listed firms on the stock exchange are from the country. All this shows you that the roles the country actually is playing really in the Francophone area in West Africa, and even, in the whole West Africa region, actually, basically, right? And then the financial sector in the regions is really mainly dominated by banks, even though the capital market also is growing, actually. For some of the action taking place, always these years, for example, there has been a market for the bond market, which is developing parallel to the stock market also. And also in terms of the banking sector, the banks in Côte d'Ivoire are one-fourth, almost 25% of the total banks of the region, actually. And also it's 1/3 of the total asset of the banking sector is in this country, actually. I'm talking again about the 8 countries, actually. And then in the country also, you will find many of the international banks, like if you are from the US, you will find, Citibank, for example, as an office there. You have a BNP Paribas and Société Générale, which are French banks. They are there. Standard Chartered Bank, which is from the UK, also as an office, in Abidjan, and also South African banks, and also EcoBank, which is a Pan-African, bank also. All these banks, and also you have a lot of regional banks, also national banks, which are all headquartered in Abidjan. All this to say that really this city is a really good financial hub, actually, right now for this region. Okay. Well, to conclude, basically, you can see the beautiful picture of Abidjan right now. In the night, we see really how you can really see how Abidjan looks like, especially the business district. Then the main question for me will be, why Côte d'Ivoire as a business area? Okay, first of all, this is basically the whole Africa is the economic leader of the Francophone Sub-Saharan Africa. If you take all the Sub-Saharan Africa, the Francophone countries, Côte d'Ivoire is the economic leader right now. The biggest economy, the fast growing one, and the first one. It's the third economic power in West Africa, after Nigeria, unfortunately after Ghana. Okay, but that's only recently. And also, it is really the financial hub of the Francophone West Africa also actually. And also, it's home to many of the financial institutions. I already showed you some of those financial institutions. That means that it has already, the financial infrastructure in place, and also the pool of talent people who are experts in finance actually are already in place actually. Then it's much easier for a financial institution to go and then to develop, in Cote d'Ivoire, and then to offer services in Cote d'Ivoire because the infrastructure is already there. In terms of, and I already said that, it's a home to the African Development Bank, which is a huge bank on the continent, and also the International Cocoa Organization, and also the stock exchange, of course. While again, Cote d'Ivoire, and also the transportation system in terms of infrastructure, I think it has one of the well-developed actually infrastructure system even across Africa actually. I'm not even shy to say that across Africa, if you take the ranking actually, you see that Cote d'Ivoire rank really very good in terms of road quality. There is a city subway transportation system which is under construction right now in Abidjan. And also there is a national airlines which actually covers most of the country, big cities in the countries. And also the country has an international airport with really link to many major cities like Paris, Brussels. You have daily flight every day to Paris. We now have flight to New York actually. You have flight to Johannesburg, to Dubai, to Beirut, and so on. So then really it means that the linkage to the country is there actually. You can connect easily to Cote d'Ivoire coming from everywhere in the world. And also access to higher education also is really easy, in the continents. It has some of the best schools also, on the continent. You will get, or Dr. Kwadju will talk about, education soon, but he's the director of one of the best schools also on the continent, actually. Also, the economic capital also offers also high quality real standard of living, actually. If you go to a rich residential area, you can have a living standard like any type of living standard you have in New York, you have in Paris, and so on. You can get that kind of quality of living also in Abidjan and other parts of Cote d'Ivoire, really. And then to finish, my last slide, basically, of course, to do business, most of the time we need services, right? All the audit and accounting firms have their offices, in Cote d'Ivoire, like if you take the big fours in the accounting firms, they all have their offices there. And also many well-known actually law firms also have offices, in Abidjan also. That means that if you're doing businesses, you can have a really good lawyer firms to really represent you. And also the country has many tax treaties, with many countries around the world. And also the tax treaties inside, the West African Economic Union also applies. That means that you can easily go to that country and then to expand to the rest of the region also. And it's the country is also in a very stable monetary zone, and that's really key because you see all those 8 countries, they have a common currency and which is currently pegged to the euro. That means that it has a very stable exchange rate with many major currencies actually, and that's good also for business actually. Overall, to conclude on this one, to stop here, I would say that basically Cote d'Ivoire can be seen as a very good gateway actually to Francophone Africa and also to West Africa, the ECOWAS region. ECOWAS is basically the whole of West Africa actually. Why that? Because basically if you look at this region right now is almost like 400 million people living in all these regions. That means that you have a lot of people who can actually buy stuff. And the projection said that by 2050, probably, this number will double. That means that we are almost getting to 1 billion people living in this area. That gives, you, the opportunity, the big opportunity of all this region. And then you can really reach all this region going through Cote d'Ivoire, actually. Then I will stop here. Yeah.
Okay, so Issouf, wonderful job representing Cote d'Ivoire. I can't wait to go there. You show me pictures of your centers there and your work there. So I'm waiting for my invitation, okay? Very good. Really excellent job. I see in the audience list, I just wanted to a big shout out to Mike Thoyer and Bob Holmes, our board members. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the work you do, helping us with Africa House's mission. So thank you for being on the on today's event. All right. So next, I'm gonna be calling up here Dr. Huig Kouadio, and before I announce his title, this is apropos of talking about Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana again. And I have a little story to tell before he comes up, okay? And so his last name is pronounced Kouadio. The name is actually originally an Akan name, Kojo. It's a man born on a Monday, okay? And you recall I was talking about Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Ofeboanye of Cote d'Ivoire, and at independence, there was a big question, are we going to maintain our traditional chieftaincy systems or not? Ghana went the way of maintaining all of the chieftaincy systems. And so the chiefs in Ghana have a lot of power. In Cote d'Ivoire, in contrast, the chieftaincy systems were allowed to sort of dissolve. It was part of the making Cote d'Ivoire Francophonie, etc. And so today we sit here. I am myself, as many of you know, I'm a chief, a sub-chief in my area. I do all the traditional rites, and we pronounce the last name Kojo, because that's the way they can pronounce it. In Cote d'Ivoire, you will see much less of that. And so I was just giving my colleague here a hard time. If he was in Ghana, his last name would be pronounced Kojo, not Kouadio, which is the Francophone version of it. But that said, and with a little rip to my friend and colleague, let me please introduce Dr. Huig Kouadio, statistician and economist, and director of this wonderful institution, Institute of Statistics and Applied Economics, ENSEA. It's just a wonderful institution. So I'm going to call him up so he can give his remarks and tell us about the great work he's doing. And so Dr. Kouadio or Dr. Kojo, please come up.
Okay, thank you, Yao, for giving this opportunity to speak about Cote d'Ivoire and friendship between Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. Yes, my name is pronounced Kouadio, but I know that in Ghana is Kujo. Kujo. I have a friend from Ghana who used to call me Kujo also. I'm gonna speak about the impressive growth of Cote d'Ivoire and go for human resource building and take this opportunity to speak about NCR. This is my school. I have the honor to be the director. Let me maybe share some screen so that I can okay, yeah, yeah, I can show you some few slides regarding the impressive growth of Cote d'Ivoire. Okay, yeah. Comment on fait? Yeah. Okay, so Cote d'Ivoire has, let's say, 5 episodes of growth, but I'm gonna make emphasis on the last episode, which is calling the second miracle of Cote d'Ivoire. This is the growth has been impressive, and the gross domestic product grew as average 8.2% for that period. And that, as Yusuf said, the economy has experienced the longest sustainable growth in recent decades over all the region, sub-Saharan Africa region. This growth engine was mainly take from stability. First was the stability of a political system, And second, this economy become more resilient to external shock. We have talked about widely about cocoa. You know, Cote d'Ivoire is the main exporter of cocoa, and the cocoa bring more money on the public system. So if you have some instability on the cocoa, then so the thing is that this with more diversification, the country is more resilient right now. The third source of growth is in this post-crisis was this diversification led in the growth of the total factor of productivity. Okay, on the supply side, the growth was driven by the agriculture, and I've talked about cocoa. The agricultural production grew by 50% in the last period. It was above those of sub-Saharan Africa on average. And but on the supply side, we can count on the services. The services we accounted for about 4.1% on average, and also the financial system, like the expansion of the financial system, telecommunication, retail trade, and so on. And also the industry, which is a good contributor of this growth. On the demand side, the investment and consumption were the main contributor of that impressive growth of Côte d'Ivoire. The investment have increased significantly in the recent year. The total investment from 15% of GDP to 22%, mainly reflecting the rebound in public investment and reduction of infrastructure deficit, including energy sector and the aggregate demand. There is also an increase in public spending, which has also helped to boost domestic demand, but in contrast, exports was not a good engine of that impressive growth. What is the fuel of that public investment? The public investment has been partly fueled by the public debt. As you certainly know, at the end of the conflict in Côte d'Ivoire, the country benefits from the two initiatives, the highly indebted poor country initiative and the multilateral debt relief initiative that help Côte d'Ivoire have increased public investment. And as a result, the borrowing capacity increase as debt ratio drop up from 71% to 47%. Okay. Let me speak about some structural factor that is structural factor of that economic growth. And this growth has mainly driven by improving structural factor. That structural factor count for half of the per capita growth. The country also has seen a significant increase in access of on electricity, on water, and so on, and then an increase in saving. We support that growth also. There have been some macroeconomic policies with the help of the Bretton institution, like namely IMF and the World Bank, and also the WEMU, the West African Economic Monetary Union, in which Cote d'Ivoire is the leader. Okay, but this impressive growth is a bit hampered by the COVID-19, COVID-19 has caused a significant economic downturn. As you know, in all countries, the health and economic crisis is affecting all countries, and internally, the strict social and distancing measures are causing a sharp slowdown on economic activity, mainly in service activities like hotel, construction, and so on. And so we should pay more attention to sustain this growth. So I mean, government should make some more effort to mitigate the effect of that COVID-19. This growth have some effect on the poverty. The poverty rate have been falling steadily since 2011. And as scholar mentioned, we were about 1 person out of 2 who were under the poverty line. Now we are about 39.4 on the poverty line. This economic growth contributes to a reduction for the poverty line. There is also non-poverty improvement also. Non-monetary poverty has also been improved. Okay, let me turn now to a comparative advantage of the economy of Côte d'Ivoire, which is human capital development. Okay, when it comes to provide needed skill labor firm, Côte d'Ivoire is doing best than like Ghana. And this performance is partly explained by the quality of vocational training, and my school is one fundamental help contribute to that production of human capital. So let me try to present you quickly, you permit me. NCR, which is Institute of Statistics and Applied Economics, is the Center of Excellence on training and research in statistics and applied economics for economic and social development in Africa. So we train, we contribute to apply research like think tanks. We ensure capacity building of national system company in the whole Africa, and we promote statistical knowledge and culture in the field. We have training at doctoral level, Master of Science, like in actual science, data science, agriculture, and so on. We are a formidable engine of integration. Currently, we host 20 students come from 20 countries from the whole Africa, and we have campus out of Côte d'Ivoire, like in Burkina Faso, Niger, DRC, Mali, Madagascar. We run our program there and provide some vocational training in that country also. Our research, as I said, contribute to economic growth, and we have lastly work on the family planning for Côte d'Ivoire, also nutritional program, and we have helped on the reform of the transport sector, and evaluation also of the employment system. So this school is a key engine. We help not only Cote d'Ivoire, but also the whole Africa. We have trained more than 4,000. We have more than 4,000 alumni in the world. We have leading academic, but in USA, in Europe also. But more importantly, those alumni contribute to the development of Africa, but because they work mainly in the public sector and private sector in Africa. I mean, maybe my time is up. We'll stop there by saying that this formidable achievement is done through many partnerships, can be academic, institutional, and so on. So over to you for any question. Thank you, Yao, for giving that opportunity to speak about Cote d'Ivoire and my institution, which is a good engine for human capacity building in the world Africa.
All right, so thank you for, so much for that. And can I say thank you, Dr. Kojo, for your great work.
You're welcome. You can say that.
All right, thank you, thank you. Okay, so I'd like to thank all the speakers. You know, this has been great. And so now we have some time for question and answer. And we already have one question. And if I'm not mistaken, the person who wrote the question is actually from Dr. Kojo's institution, ENSEA, okay? It's a great institution that's produced, I know, a lot of very good economists. Many are actually on this platform right now. Okay, so the question is, the project of local transformation of cocoa in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire is very welcome. I would like to know if there's a timeline associated with this, and what is the expected impact on economic growth, quantitatively speaking? Who are the main actors? Government, local private sector, foreign investment. So maybe we'll let Bernadette answer that one.
Okay, thank you, Nana. Indeed, I thought about the local transformation. Yes. So in terms of the contribution to economic growth, it is evident because more value would be added to cocoa production, and that will increase the revenue, and that's what has been expected for since you know, the 80s. You know, countries were being accused of concentrating on export of coffee beans, which is not value added. So transformation will do. In terms of the time frame, I would say that the construction has been launched. Both the construction of the storage facilities and the transformation, the local transformation have been launched. Why talk about storage facility? We know that if producing countries have storage facility, they would be able to affect much more the price than just you know, producing and exporting. If you should export, if you should not, if you do not have a mean to hold back, then scheme such as a futures market, you will not be able to use that. So storage facility along local transformation are key to increasing the revenue to get out of cocoa production. Okay. So these are points that I wanted to say in terms of the question that has been posed. And my colleague, I'm sure that my colleague could add to that.
Thank you so much, Bernadette. I see two other questions here. One is on what constitutes the greatest threat to the sustainability on development moving forward. One more directed to Dr. Kojo, if I may be allowed. Thank you for your presentation. I'm Executive Director of IUGB. That must be Amini. Hi, Amini. How do you think public and private universities in Cote d'Ivoire can better work together to improve the capacity of more Ivorian graduates into the workforce in Cote d'Ivoire? And what is the role of the private sector in higher education in Cote d'Ivoire? So go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for that that question. I mean, as I said before, human resource building is a competitive factor of Cote d'Ivoire, so that we can come together, all universities and school, to boost economic growth for the country. Let me say that the government match the universities, and as a result, we have four institutions. We are African Center of Excellence. Center Excellence in let's say in climate and development. Center of Excellence in mining. Center of Excellence on transformation of waste déchets, waste, and also statistics and economic building, you know. So definitively this university deserve investment and to do the best for economic growth, and that mean we have to follow the strategy such as that is defined in our working plan through the Minister of Higher Education. And this strategy said that we should have we should promote research on the field. Research is a good engine of growth. We should also have, let's say, infrastructure for students so that they don't go abroad for training and so on. That come from cooperation between also institution in the country and also out of the country. I hope I answered that question. It seems that there is the last part. C'était quoi la dernière partie?
La possibilité pour les institutions privées et publiques
améliorer
le nombre de diplômés pour participer à la main d'œuvre en fait.
Okay. For the, you know, when you are awarded from Center of Excellence, one requiring is that you all your the diplômés should, all your graduates should have internship in private enterprise or maybe in some public enterprise. So you have to set up like a board on which you have private enterprise and collaborate directly with private enterprise so that all your curricula is aligned with the need of the private sector. So this is what is done right now, so that one requirement for all universities and school in Côte d'Ivoire is to have on the board, on the sectoral board, to have a private sector and collaborate with that private sector to fulfill the need of that private sector. That's why the human capacity building is a major advantage from Côte d'Ivoire. So we are on the way. Thank you.
Thank you, too. The next question is actually, I received this earlier on today. It was on a group, African Finance and Economics Association. And let me direct this to you, Issouf, okay? And so, Issouf, I got a message today earlier on. Look at the top 10 African economies. Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, Ethiopia, Kenya, Angola, Ghana, Tanzania. That's the top 10. And this person says, all 10 of them have their own currency. This person says, no Francophone is in the list of top 10. This person says, none of these countries use the CFA franc.
Okay, by the time you always come back, because there was another question where someone was asking basically what's the biggest threat to actually the sustained economic growth or development of Côte d'Ivoire. I think one of the biggest threats I can see these days is basically the commodity price uncertainty. Because we have seen that in the past, basically. Côte d'Ivoire in the past, after the independence, had known really a very fast growth. It was even seen as a good example in Africa. And after that, because cocoa price and coffee prices, went plummet, then the country experienced some difficulties. And then I can see really the commodity prices and uncertainty as one big threat really for the country. And why is that? Because the country depends a lot for the export. You have seen that from the presentation from Bernadette, where 40% of the export was basically coming from cocoa. And you have also coffee, you also have oil, you also have cashew nuts and so on. Then you have many, many commodities like that. Then if the country depends a lot for the export on those, those commodities, then if the prices go down, of course, it will be very difficult for the country to get some of the money it needs, especially for the investment, also to be able really to sustain really the debt services and so on. Then I would say this is one of the big threats actually I can see for the country. To come back to your questions, I don't know if I understand correctly. The question was basically you list of the 10 economies, actually basically in Africa. I think Côte d'Ivoire is maybe not the 10 but the 15 economies actually, but the 10s, and then you say that all of them have their own currency, but no francophone country actually was among these 10, and then also, and why is that and so on. Then and people want to link it somehow to the currency and so on. My point would be basically, I think, the currency issue, I know, there is all this discussion about the CFA franc, is it good, is not good, and so on. I won't get into that politics of the CFA franc discussion. I will leave it that to really well-informed people who are into that. But what I can say basically is, in terms of currency, having, either, a currency pegged to other currencies, or having, a floating currency. There have been studies showing that, each regime has its own advantage and has its own disadvantage, actually. If you take, for example, the case of the CFA franc, which is actually pegged to the euro, actually. One of the advantages of that, and we can see it mainly, basically from the stability, macroeconomic stability point of view, you can see that the regions, actually, the West Africa region, the Francophone ones, they have one of the lowest, inflation rate, for years and so on. That's, I mean, one of the things. It means that the prices are not going up and so on, and then you can really do your forecasting based on really the current prices and so on. But at the same time, and also, I mean, it has a much more stable, I mean, exchange rate, I mean, in place. But at the same time, we also know that if you have really peggy currency, I mean, then you are losing part of your monetary, your flexibility in terms of monetary policy, because if your competitiveness actually is affected, then it becomes very hard, I mean, for the country, I mean, actually to react and so on. Then there are both advantages and then there are disadvantages and so on, I mean, to that one and so on. And then to conclude on this one, don't forget there is a project actually to have a single currency in the whole ECOWAS region, actually. Then if those countries are moving toward having a single currency for the whole West Africa regions, I mean, there should be something good about all those countries getting together and having a system of a currency which will work, I mean, throughout, I mean, all these 15 West African currencies, West African countries, actually. And I will stop here for that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, I think you're talking about the ECU. This is the
the ECO, exactly right. Yeah.
ECOWAS region. All right, so I think we're coming to the end here. I have a last question, so maybe Bernadette, if you could answer this quickly, then we'll close. The question says, Ghana and Ivory Coast recently tried to have a say in the price of cocoa on the international market, but seem to have succumbed to international pressure. What precedents does this set for the future? You know, I want to know if you have a few very quick words on that. You're on mute now. Bernadette, you're on mute. Hello, Bernadette, can you hear us?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I did not put on my micro. Okay, the two countries use their exceptional position to play a major role. For the first time, instead of just, joking about what they can do in the cocoa market, they stick on their position until they got, a solution from the producers, transformers of coffee in very different countries, Nestle and Nestle in both countries. So I think for long, countries try to build a cartel, cocoa cartel, as oil cartel, but that did not work. I think the play, I think the thought of what they are putting together, if they can be joined by other producers from other continent, the cartel will hold and they can get the best out of their production. How can you be the major producer and be, a price taker? So I think they need to stick to their position until they get the right position. Okay. I don't know if that answers the question of, the person who wanted to know. Yes.
Okay.
They did not abide to, their position. They said, yes, we want that. We want the price differential so that we can use that to increase producer prices in our different countries. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. So we've come to the end of our discussion. It's really been great to spotlight Côte d'Ivoire. For me, my brother, sister country. So great to have this conversation. Bernadette, thank you so much for coming, telling us about cocoa, and it's so important. Our grandparents became rich; those became rich from cocoa. It was the Cocoa Mercedes Benz. That was the big thing in those days, or the Peugeot. in Côte d'Ivoire. Issouf, thank you for all your words of wisdom on currencies and the ECU, which is coming down the line. For our audiences, Issouf is working on commodity exchanges and pairing it with the one in existence in Ghana. And Dr. Kojo, thank you also for telling us so much about your institution, giving us the framework of all of Côte d'Ivoire. And again, you have a great institution. As I said, produced a number of very, very good economists, and just power to you, power to your institution. So I'd like to thank you all for coming. Again, I thank the Africa House board members for everything you do. And a big shout out to Andrea, Aditi, Nathan Chumi, and the entire Africa House staff who has been working very, very hard on all of the fine details on this. So I thank my team, and God bless you all. Thank you all for coming, and it's been a great conversation. So thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nana.
Much.
It was great.
Thank
We
you very
enjoyed
much
the discussion. Thank you much.
Hope to see you on the village.
Exactly. Yeah. So, as you all know, I'm not because I'm a chief, right? So
Yeah, a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Okay. Thank you very much. Take care. Thank you. Yeah.
take care. Bye.
Okay.
okay.
Okay.